Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Colorado. All right. Who says you're not pro-life here? Come on, look at this. It's so good to be here with all of you. I got the best news today. Most of you know that I run an organization called And Then There Were None. Our goal is to bring abortion clinic workers out of the abortion industry, bring them into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ, and end abortion. That's our goal. And today we got an updated quitter count. And we have now worked to bring 766 abortion clinic workers out of the industry. So I really had no idea what I was going to talk about when I got up here, until I talked to Seth earlier today. And he reminded me of something that happened a couple of decades ago with National Right to Life. And I won't get a mean text from them because they don't talk to me anyway. But a couple of decades ago, National Right to Life decided that in the pro-life movement, we should no longer talk about the killing of the baby, that we should only talk about the woman, that we should only talk about being compassionate toward the woman, and we should completely stop talking about the murder of the baby. And it reminded me of something that we actually did at Planned Parenthood when I worked there in 2007. So in 2007, Planned Parenthood went through an entire image makeover. So when I first started working at Planned Parenthood, the thing that really caught my eye on my college campus was the hot pink booth, right? In the early 2000s and before, hot pink was their signature color. And the one thing that also happened in 2007 was that they started their gender transition program. They started issuing cross-sex hormones to men and women in 2007. And also in 2007 was when they started this new marketing campaign. And they also decided in 2007 that they did not want to talk about the baby either. They decided that they did not want to talk about the fetus, they did not want to talk about the baby, and many women would come in and they would ask us questions about their baby. They would ask us, is my baby going to feel any pain? What's going to happen to my baby after the abortion? Does my baby have a heartbeat? Does my baby have arms and legs? Many questions. Women had many questions about their child in the womb, and this was becoming problematic for us at Planned Parenthood because 60% of women who have abortions have already had children. And so they had seen ultrasounds. So when we lied to them and said, no, it's just a mass of tissue, it's just a clump of cells, they knew that we were lying because they had already had ultrasounds. And so this was becoming really problematic for us at Planned Parenthood. And so this big marketing foundation came in. This big marketing group came in 2007, and things changed at Planned Parenthood. All of a sudden, we weren't using hot pink anymore. Everything was going to be blue. And it's still this way today. Everything was going to be blue. And for many, many years, the nested P's, the PP, was kind of like italicized, it was kind of girly, feminine looking. And they changed that too. It became block letters. It looked more androgynous. Everything was blue. The block letters were not italicized anymore. They stopped using language like surgical abortion, because they had done a bunch of focus testing. And the women in the focus testing group said that surgical abortion sounded scary. So they didn't want to scare women. So they started calling them in-clinic procedures. They didn't want to use the word surgical. And they didn't want to say the word vacuum aspiration either, because that was confusing to the women. And they didn't want to think about a vacuum going into their body. So they started calling them ICPs, in-clinic procedures. And then with the abortion pills, they really didn't want to call them, chemical abortions because women don't like the idea of chemicals going into their body. And they really didn't want to call them, medication abortions or medical abortions. So what they decided they were going to call them were just simply pill abortions. Or we could call them missed period pills. So if you've missed your period, no problem. We're just going to bring that period right back with these pills. And then we still had to deal with the baby. So we wanted to make this completely women-focused, just like National Right to Life had made everything in the pro-life movement completely woman-focused. We wanted to just eliminate the problem of the baby altogether and only focus on the woman. And so we did that too at Planned Parenthood. And so the marketing organization told us that anytime a woman asked us any question, whether it was about the baby, whether it was about religion, whether it was about anything, we were only to use one statement. And this one statement was going to be a catch-all for every question that women had when they walked into our clinic. You ready to hear it? The statement was, women choose abortions because they care about themselves, their current families, and their future families. That was the statement. And so I remember sitting in that meeting with all of the directors and all the supervisors and all the head honcho people, and I remember thinking, that's ridiculous. Women aren't going to buy that. They're asking real questions. And we're giving them this just ridiculous, whimsical answer. And so one day, the next abortion day, I had a woman come in and she's sitting at my desk in front of me, and she was a Christian woman. Most women who choose abortions are Christian women. And she was sitting in front of me and she was tearful. And she said, I just don't know. I've always believed abortion is wrong, but I just don't know if God is going to forgive me. And I thought, okay, Johnson, here we go. Let's see if this works. And I'll never forget the day. I remember what I was wearing. I remember everything about the day. And I looked her right in the eye and I said, I understand. But women choose abortion because they care about themselves, their current families, and their future families. And she looked at me and she sighed with relief. And she said, yes, that's it. That is it. She said, I'm having this abortion because I care about my baby. And I remember sitting at my desk that day and thinking, holy crap. We have successfully turned abortion into an act of compassion. Now, for me, at that time, as an abortion clinic director, I was like, this is amazing. Because I had a quota to fill. I had numbers I had to meet. And what do you know? That statement worked every time. A woman would come in and she would be like, I'm just concerned. Like, is this going to make my baby feel pain? And we would say, don't worry about that. We understand that women choose abortion because they care about themselves, their current families, and their future families. And women look at us and they would go, oh my gosh, you get it. Yes, that is why I'm doing this. Every single time, no pushback. They realized that we had compassion for them. And that same toxic compassion, that same misguided, false compassion, friends, it has taken over the pro-life movement. It has infected the pro-life movement. We no longer want to talk about the baby. We no longer want to call abortion murder. And even if we do call abortion murder, we don't actually want to have consequences to the act of abortion. We want to pretend like, oh, well, yeah, you're murdering a baby, but it's okay if you murder the baby. It's fine, because we want to be compassionate. I mean, come on. Is it murder or is it not? If it is murder, it should be treated as murder. If it is treated as murder, guess what? The majority of women will not go through with the act of abortion, because what is the point of the law? It is to be a deterrent. It is to be an agent of behavior change. It is to be a teacher. The law is a teacher. It tells us you are not to do this. This is not morally, this is not permissible by law, because it is morally wrong. That's what the law teaches us. There were so many women that would come into our clinics and they would say, I've always believed abortion is wrong, but it's legal, so I guess it's okay. Let's see, what are other situations when the law has been a teacher for us? Let's think about it. Let's think about it with smoking. When I was a kid, you could smoke everywhere, right? People would be walking around, blowing smoke in your face. It was fine. You could smoke in the car with a kid. You could smoke anywhere. You'd go into Golden Corral, there'd be a smoking section, there'd be a non-smoking section. Everybody would smoke, right? Back in the 50s and 60s, you watched movies and, it was so classy for a woman to smoke. They had those long black things with the cigarettes hanging off the end, and it was the beautiful thing to do, right? You smoke. That was the cool thing to do, right? And then we started passing laws. So you couldn't smoke in cars with kids. You couldn't smoke in restaurants. You couldn't smoke around other people. And now when I see a smoker and I look at them, I'm like, ew, get a hold of yourself. Because smoking is gross. Smoking is not cool. Smoking gives you freaking lung cancer. Why are you doing it? Get some self-control. Why are you doing something that gives you cancer? You fool. And the law has helped form our opinions about smoking. Same thing with car seats. When I was a baby, we drove an Oldsmobile 98. It looked like a boat on wheels. It was gray. I remember my dad built me a playpen in the back of our Oldsmobile. Okay? And I remember being a child and crawling around in the padded playpen that my dad had built me. I was an only child. I had all that space to myself. It was about 100 square feet. I had all that space to myself. And I could crawl around and do whatever I wanted to in the back of that car seat. If we would have gotten in a wreck, I would have gone straight out the front of that windshield, okay? But there were not laws surrounding car seats. You didn't have to wear your seatbelt. That was just the way it was. That was just the law. We didn't know about seatbelts. We didn't know the danger of going through the windshield. We didn't have crash test dummies back then, right? We had not had those commercials yet of all the crash test dummies, like this is what happens to your neck when you hit a brick wall, right? We didn't have that yet. But then the law changed. And if you were to ever, and this actually, I'm going to tell you a story. This actually happened at Planned Parenthood one time, okay? One time, a woman came in for an abortion, and she had a 2-year-old, and she had a baby, and she came in to get an abortion. And as our volunteer escort walked her out to her car with her babies, the escort noticed that she didn't have a car seat for either one of her kids. And the escort was wildly bothered by the fact that she was not protecting her 2 children after she had just killed her child. And so the escort asked her, "Do you have a car seat? Do you have car seats for these children?" And she said, "Oh, no, I don't have car seats. They're fine. I buckle my 2-year-old in." Oh, okay. And so the escort called the police and would not let her leave the parking lot. Like barricaded her car, would not let her leave the parking lot because she was trying to protect her 2 children. Because now we know the dangers of not putting your children in car seats. We know the dangers of not buckling your seatbelt. I can't get into my Suburban and not buckle my seatbelt without a freaking nanny ding, 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 nonstop, right? Why? Because the laws changed. Because laws dictate morality. That's the bottom line. We don't wait for culture to catch up with our sinful behavior. We don't wait around and go, well, we're just going to wait until everybody stops having unprotected sex and gets their life together. We're just going to wait until everybody gets their reproductive health choices together before we stop murdering babies. That's not what we do. That's ridiculous. We didn't do that with smoking. We didn't say, well, we're just going to wait for everybody to realize this causes lung cancer before we make them stop blowing smoke in our faces. We made a law. We said, you're not going to do that because it's dangerous. And let me tell you something, abortion, ripping a baby limb from limb, is much more dangerous than blowing smoke in someone's face. So I don't know when so much of this is about God's timing. I don't know when this is going to happen. I don't know when all the pro-life organizations are finally going to wake up and go, gosh, this is the way forward. But I do know this. I do know this is the way forward. I do know that this is going to be the way that we end abortion in our country. I know that I don't want to regulate abortion anymore. I know that I'm not out here just trying to make murder safe. I don't care about an abortion clinic's halls being a certain size or the way they sterilize instruments. I don't care about that. I don't want them to murder babies anymore, period. And I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done taking these little baby steps to end murder. I'm kind of done with that. I'm kind of ready for the whole enchilada. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just save some. I want to save them all. And I don't know when that's going to happen. But I know that these organizations that are just out here trying to save some, I know these organizations that are really working hand in hand with the abortion industry to keep abortion available. I know that eventually they will come to an end. And I'm looking forward to it. Because really, we should only want to partner with organizations that want to end the slaughter, not regulate it. And so that's where I am. So I don't know when God's going to do it. It's all in his hands. It's all in his timing. A lot of people are like, oh, Abby, God, what an idiot. It took you 8 years to leave Planned Parenthood. And I was an idiot. I don't know why it took me so long, but I don't know. It was all in God's timing. And, there's a lot of people like that. A lot of people in our organization, some of our former workers, they worked at Planned Parenthood for, 18 years. Why did it take them so long? I don't know, but God brought them out just at the right time. Because God works in our lives just at the right time. At his moment, at his time, in his perfect plan.